They were very loving people. They wanted to share all their love with as many children as they could.
You got these two individuals killed execution style.
It's shocking that someone would be shot right in front of their own kids in their own home.
What did you think when you heard that pow, 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 pow?
I thought, oh dear God, no.
They had 16 cameras and they were all working.
You see them kicking the front door, back door at the same time.
Just doesn't make sense because they got what they wanted, so why kill them?
The camera really tells the tale.
It was almost silence when we're watching it and seeing it. We couldn't believe what we were watching.
Summer 2009, Pensacola, Florida. Bud and Melanie Billings are enjoying life with the big, loving family they've made for themselves.
They had a couple of their own children and they adopted many children. They just wanted to have a large family, whatever way they could swing it.
I believe they are the modern life Brady Bunch, honestly. They adopted a lot of special needs kids and they loved them a lot. If they could, they would adopt every child in the world.
Before the Billings became Pensacola's modern-day Brady Bunch, they were just Bud and Melanie.
Bud was a fixture in the used car business.
So Bud is this hard-charging businessman. He was an entrepreneur. He had many businesses. He had a lot of money, and he wanted a large family. The bigger, the better. Then he meets Melanie, who is the softer side of him.
Bud used to own a club in town. Melanie was a waitress there, and they madly fell in love. He eventually sold the club and got heavier in the used car business, which is where Bud really was making his money.
With Bud's career on the rise, the couple decide to marry in 1993.
Melanie was great. She kind of smoothed off the edges of Bud. He deeply loved her.
Bud and Melanie have 2 children apiece from previous marriages. But they're not done yet.
He wanted to take care of children, and it was like in his soul. So adoptions ensued. And Bud and Melanie actually ended up with 13 children.
Melanie developed a passion for helping these kids. And these kids were very much a part of their lives.
They just were very loving people, honestly. They just wanted to share all their love with as many children as they could.
You have money and you are adopting these special needs children, and that gains a lot of attention because of, it's a good deed, obviously, but also it's kind of unusual.
By 2009, the Billings have 9 children in their home, ranging in age from 4 to 11. Their 2 oldest children from previous marriages, Melanie's daughter Ashley and Bud's son Justin, are grown but live in the area. They decide to share the story of their big, loving family with their community.
Our daily newspaper did a big profile on the Billings family. There were some wonderful pictures of Bud and Melanie and all this litter of kids, some laying and some in their laps, and all ages and sizes. And the whole story was just about how big their hearts were. This photo is the last photo of the family. And just, you can't look at that picture and not feel something for this family.
At 7 p.m. on July 9th, 2009, the Billings are home. Most of their children are in bed.
Bud is with one of their kids watching television. His wife is in a kitchen. It was one of those kitchens that had sort of a counter that she could look into the living room area. So she's cleaning dishes, they're watching TV.
Bud and Melanie Billings have no idea that these seemingly mundane chores will be their final moments together.
Their eldest daughter, Ashley, calls the house to see how the family's doing. It's like 7:30 at night. One of the children answers the phone, and the child is crying.
The Billings had a nurse that helped part-time at the home. Her name was April Spencer.
Worried that she can't get her parents to come to the phone, Ashley calls April and asks her to go to the Billings house and check on Bud and Melanie and their children.
Sheriff's Department, Debbie.
I live next door. The mother and father have been shot.
They've been shot?
Yes. Please come.
I'm trying to get somebody this, but you said the mother and father both have been shot?
Yes. I gotta go over here with the children, but I don't know.
I don't want you to be in any danger, okay? I've got several officers on the way to you.
Hurry. I gotta go get the kids. There's kids in the house.
Home security video reveals a key clue to the Billings killers.
The first thing that comes to mind when you see that red van is we're going to be able to find that.
And find a tangled web of conspirators.
They're all in complete black. They look like ninjas.
She's very successful, and somehow she's involved with these ninja characters.
So now we're stuck with trying to figure out all these players and how to prove it.
And it doesn't make any sense. Why would you get yourself involved in this?
So you said the mother and father both have been shot?
July 9th, 2009. A frantic 911 call sends police rushing to the home of Bud and Melanie Billings in Pensacola, Florida.
We got dispatch telling us that we needed to respond to a double murder. At that time, we didn't know much about it. We didn't know if maybe it was a murder-suicide or what we had. I pull up and I see probably half of our patrol deputies on scene, lights everywhere.
It was sort of surreal because they're carrying babies and toddlers and all different type of ages outside. Just that eeriness of how many kids were in that house and trying to get them out.
There's 8 to 13 kids that we're dealing with. We learned right away the majority of them were nonverbal. It was difficult getting anything out of them. So after the kids were safe with a nanny, we started to walk through the crime scene. Right away, you notice the door been kicked in, that it was forced open. You see some blood right there in the living room. And then to the far right is the bedroom. And you see Mr. and Miss Billings on the floor inside the bedroom.
Based on the initial forensics noted at the scene, it quickly becomes clear to detectives that this is not a murder-suicide.
You know, you got these 2 individuals killed almost execution style. When you see that, that's when we knew it's definitely, this is going to be different. I mean, you know right away. that you're dealing with either robbery or home invasion, something in that nature.
When the Billings daughter, Ashley, arrives at the scene, she points officers to something inside the house that could help them get some answers.
There were cameras all over the place. They had 16 cameras, and they were all working.
The reason they had the video system there was to keep an eye on all these special needs kids if they didn't hurt themselves.
Detectives rush the video equipment back to their tech team at headquarters, hopeful it will hold the answers to what happened in Bud and Melanie's final moments.
We had to actually pull the hard drive. It had to be pulled and brought back to the sheriff's office to be viewed.
Meanwhile, forensics teams continue through the night processing the bloody scene for physical evidence.
There wasn't a lot of evidence left by these killers because they really covered their tracks except for the shell casings. And then also, there were some shoe prints because one of the doors had been kicked in and they found some boot prints outside the house.
Investigators send the physical evidence for processing and return to the sheriff's office, where they are at last able to access the video from the Billings home security system.
When we finally start viewing the video, it's clear as day. You see this red van pull up. You see these people jump out.
You had 5 individuals moving across the yard. They're all in complete black shoes, shirts, and masks. So they look like ninjas.
It was almost silence when we're watching it. We couldn't believe what we were watching. Then you see him kick in the front door, back door at the same time. It's not something that we had ever seen.
The surveillance footage tells a stunning story about what happened inside the house.
You could tell it's obviously planned, military style, long guns, handguns.
You see Bud immediately puts his hands up.
And he's trying to talk to these killers that have come into his home with his kids and his wife.
Then you have 2 other masked men come in from down the hallway.
So the men that finally rush into the room, they get Bud and they zip tie him and they push him to the floor.
Within minutes of getting Bud on the floor, one of the guys shoots him twice, one in each leg, in the meaty part of the calf. Drag him, into the master bedroom, drag Melanie into the master bedroom.
Mr. Billings didn't have video in his bedroom, so we didn't see them being killed.
Investigators rewind the video again and again, scouring it for clues. And they spot something they didn't notice earlier.
We see there's a little boy in the living room. This little 6, 7, 8-year-old kid watching and seeing his family get killed. It was horrible.
The child, he was with his dad when the men broke into the house. He wasn't in the bedroom, but he actually saw his dad being shot. He saw his mom being dragged. The gang pretty much just ignored him, while this was all going on. And immediately, just kept doing what they were doing.
I've covered a lot of murders, and this one is the most shocking because it's basically caught on camera, memorializing the final moments of the Billings lives. And all the children are there. It's so unnerving, and it's just sad, but also it's something you can't unsee. And then after that, you can see the ninja invaders quickly leaving the house.
You see them getting into the van with an object. But it was hard to tell from the video what they were carrying out of the house.
This whole thing happened in less than 10 minutes.
So police are trying to figure out, is this just simply a home invasion and people that want money? Or why did this go down?
Home security video has captured chilling details of the murders of Bud and Melanie Billings in front of their children. Investigators believe the key to understanding what happened may lie in the unidentified object the killers are seen fleeing with on the blurry video.
In the early moments of the investigation, we were thinking that it was a robbery.
The video answers a lot of questions, but not the most important ones.
So you have this great video of showing exactly what happened, but you couldn't distinguish any type of facial features or anything like that. And we didn't know what they took.
Investigators continue trying to decipher the clues contained in the home security video. They need to know exactly what was taken from the Billings home, why, and most importantly, by whom. So they speak to those closest to Bud and Melanie, their oldest children, Justin and Ashley.
Typically in a homicide, they're going to go first to the people that are closest. So they're going to go find out where all the family members were, get their interviews done quickly.
We found out through Ashley, there was 2 different safes in the house. The small safe was in his bedroom in a bedroom closet. And there was another safe upstairs.
And one of those safes is now missing.
So when we put the whole thing together, you see him carrying what we know now is the small safe put into the red van, and you see everybody leaving. In that safe, Ashley had told us there's like birth certificates, adoption paperwork, stuff of that nature for all these kids. Some minor jewelry of her mom's, but not a lot.
So Ashley tells police, look, they got away with a safe, but the other safe that's in the house is the one with the cash.
There was a lot of money being made with the used car business.
So in the safe upstairs, there was like 100 to 200,000, something like that, worth of cash inside.
They took the wrong one.
They had no clue about the second safe, and I just think it was a little bit of ignorance.
Investigators still have no leads to the identities of the home invaders. They hope one comes from their most promising clue, the red van seen on the security video.
The first thing that comes to mind when you see that red van is, we're going to be able to find that.
We got that video of the red van put out on media. I mean, right away.
As police work on finding the killers, the Billings family is faced with another urgent task, taking care of the children who are now left orphaned. Ashley, Melanie's oldest daughter from her previous marriage, rises to the challenge.
She's taking care of all the kids.
That's a big responsibility, but those kids need someone that's close to them and that knows what they need.
Days pass with no new leads on the red van or the identity of its occupants. The evidence points to a robbery gone bad. But with a safe full of cash left behind, and the 2 brazen murders, detectives begin to wonder if something bigger is at play.
In the South, you don't speak ill of the dead until they're buried. So my thought was, okay, once we get the funerals over with, somebody's going to come forward. And sure enough, my theory turned out to be right. We started hearing that Bud was a great friend, but he never got the wrong side of a business deal. The stories that we were getting were the people that had used car lots with them. He would find a successful salesperson. He would help them finance the cars. But then when the sales start to fall off, he didn't hesitate to take the whole lot from them. And there were stories of him coming in the middle of the night, taking all the keys, moving all the cars in the lot, and the guy going back to work to a lot he thought he had with no cars.
Might Bud Billings have crossed the wrong man?
So there was a question whether this was just purely to burglarize the Billings, or was there some other motive behind this? Was it hit? Was there a revenge motive to this?
We appreciate you coming in.
Well, anything to help.
Bud's adult son, Justin, sometimes worked with his dad on his auto lots. As police interview him about the murders, he provides some intriguing details about his father's business dealings.
And when the police spoke to Justin, he gave them a name, a key to why this might have all gone down.
During the interview with Justin, he brings up Cab Tice. He said, hey, this is a guy you might want to look at. Him and my dad have had issues in the past, and you might want to check him out.
Cab Tice ran several car dealerships. He had a flair for liking Hawaiian shirts. He tanned.
Justin tells investigators that his father had a business dispute with Cab Tice, and Bud had accused Cab of stealing from him.
My dad was disappointed in him for stealing from him. I mean, he said if you needed money, you could have just asked. You didn't have to steal it from me. And Cab just stormed out.
So we start looking into Cab Tice. We wind up going out there and making contact with Cab. And he made it clear that he had no use for Mr. Billings. It kept just getting more interesting in every turn.
Two days after the murders of Bud and Melanie Billings, Bud's son Justin has given police the name of a potential suspect, Cab Tice.
The story was he and Bud had a falling out. Bud would finance his lot, and Cab would sell cars and not give Bud his share of the money. If anybody had something against Bud Billings, it was Cab Tice.
Mr. Billings felt like Cab owed him money. They were not friendly at all. It was clear. So when we started to talk to Mr. Tice, he was very frank.
In business, Bud Billings wouldn't give you a dime unless you got 29 cents back.
Said, hey, I don't like the guy. I have no use for him. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not sad that he's gone.
Bud Billings' favorite statement was this, and as you interview people, they'll all confirm this. He'll say, you know what, over these years, I had so much cash that I could not spend it before I died. And when this whole thing happened, those words rang in my ear, I have more cash, and I think it was robbed.
Detectives think Cab Tice could have a motive to go after Bud. They press him to provide an alibi for the night of the murders, and he tells them he was working at a dealership an hour and a half outside of Pensacola that evening.
And we showed you a picture of this van right here, right?
Yes, sir. I've never seen that van.
You've never seen that van?
No, sir.
With no evidence that he committed any crime, police have no cause to hold Cab.
We let him go, letting him know that we had to follow up, checking his alibi and verify everything that he said.
Despite their initial suspicions, detectives are able to corroborate Cab's alibi. The case seems to be losing momentum. But then, investigators' strategy of asking for the public's help finding the red van seen at the Billings home finally pays off.
Somebody calls up and says, hey, I know this van. I once owned it and I sold it.
And I sold it to Patrick Gonzalez. Investigators go to the address of Mr. Gonzalez they had found in our computer database.
They drive by the house. Lo and behold, there's this van peeking out behind the trailer. They go, and it looks like the one that is in the video.
And then it's just sitting there.
So police bring Patrick Gonzalez to the police station for questioning.
So he tells the investigator that the van doesn't run, hasn't moved in a while, and that it's his son's, Gonzalez Jr.'s.
So police have two suspects, and they both have the same name. One is Senior, one is Junior. Leonard Patrick Gonzalez Sr. and then Leonard Patrick Gonzalez Jr.
Detectives continue to press Patrick Gonzalez Sr. about the red van, when suddenly, he crumbles.
Patrick Gonzalez Sr. tells the police that, hey, I was just a driver. He spilled the beans on everything.
Okay. You pull in the driveway, what happens?
Everybody jumps in, doors kicking open. Rain on the ground.
Okay. All right.
And that's all I thought it would be.
He just basically spills his guts that it's his son, Patrick Jr., who masterminded the whole thing, and it's all his fault. I was just the getaway driver.
He said his son kind of brought him into this, a father and son kind of escapade. You know, instead of going fishing, we're going to go commit a robbery.
He talks about, being told about this being a drug dealer, that nobody was going to care if they robbed this guy. And he was shocked when he heard the gunshots go off in the house, and pretty much lays out the whole crime.
You said you were still in the van. What did you do next?
Got in the driver's seat.
Uh-huh. And then what happens after that?
We get down in the yard, everything's going fine, and then all of a sudden, drive out.
Okay.
What'd you think when you heard that pow, 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 pow?
I liked it on myself. I thought, oh dear God, no.
Based on his confession, Patrick Gonzalez Sr. is charged with being an accomplice.
Senior tells us everything that happened, but he doesn't know all the names of the other guys. So now we're stuck with trying to figure out all these players and how to prove it.
Police have traced the red van used in the murders of Bud and Melanie Billings to Patrick Gonzalez Sr. He admits to being at the scene, but insists his son is the mastermind behind the deadly robbery.
So as we started investigating Gonzalez Jr., we learned that him and Bud Billings were friends and knew each other.
They knew each other in the car business. Patrick Jr. would work at different car lots. They would do these big tent sales, and he'd be one of the army of salespeople that would do that.
Because of what they have on Patrick Jr. from his father, they bring him in for an interrogation.
Investigators do not immediately reveal what Patrick Gonzalez's father has told them.
We appreciate you coming here today.
Believe me, when I saw the pictures on the TV, I was like, damn, and I know the guy, so I'm thinking.
You know what guy?
The guy that this is about. So I was like,
You saw the picture of the van on TV?
Yeah.
Man, that's your van.
Excuse me?
That picture is the same van that's in your yard, right?
It's similar. Similar. Very similar to that van, but no, it's not. It can't be the same van. It's not the same van.
He denies everything, and he tells us his dad's mentally crazy. Don't listen to nothing he says.
Detectives believe Patrick Sr.'s story. Patrick Gonzalez Jr. is their prime suspect, but they have to find proof that he was involved.
We had enough probable cause to keep Senior. We didn't have enough probable cause to keep Junior, so then we got to keep following up. We got to get enough evidence to prove his dad's story.
That includes doing a deep dive into Patrick Jr.'s background.
Patrick Jr., he had spent some time in prison with a battery charge, an assault charge, and he had come out. He was very proficient in martial arts, had done some MMA fighting. Patrick had gone to Bud to get money to help with the studio that he had, the martial arts studio that he started, and Bud was not interested in investing in his business.
Investigators believe they have discovered a possible explanation for why the robbery turned so inexplicably deadly. Could Patrick Jr. have been so angry at Bud for not investing in his studio that he wanted him dead? Police execute a search warrant at Patrick Gonzalez Sr.'s property, where the red van was located.
The search warrant at Senior's house was incredibly huge. It helps tie things together. We wind up getting paint cans where they were trying to paint the vehicle, some burned clothes and stuff like that. We wind up getting a shoebox from Walmart.
So the shoebox is significant because the pattern on the bottom of those boots matched the pattern of the shoe prints found at the Billings house after the double murder.
Detectives head to Walmart and find surveillance footage matching the date and time on a receipt found with the shoeboxes. And on it, they see Patrick Jr. with a group of men police believe is the robbery crew.
Well, all of them are on the video at Walmart, where we see him buying clothing and shoes for the group that he had recruited.
Prosecutors feel they now have enough to arrest Patrick Gonzalez Jr. When they release the Walmart video to the public, tips help them identify and arrest the other 5 men.
They were tied to Gonzalez Jr. through a mechanic shop. So he winds up talking them into going into this house and robbing it because this guy's got tons and tons of money in his safe.
Police arrest Wayne Coldiron, Donnie Stallworth, Gary Sumner, Rakeem Florence, and Frederick Thornton. But pieces of the puzzle are still missing.
They had arrested a lot of people, but they didn't have the guns, they didn't have the safe.
Detectives continue interrogating their suspects, probing for leads to the guns and safe. And as they do, they hear about a mysterious woman who may be the key to that information.
Pamela Long Wiggins, she's blonde, she's a real estate agent, very successful, has a lot of money, and somehow she's involved with these ninja characters.
We wind up finding out that she's rents to Gonzalez Jr., a home in Gulf Breeze, Florida. She would collect money for her if people were giving her a hard time, not paying up, kick them out of homes, stuff of that nature. So that was their connection.
Police learned from their suspects that after the murders, Patrick Gonzalez Jr. met with Pamela. But then, she disappeared. Detectives managed to track Pamela down just in time.
She was trying to leave and wound up locating her in a big yacht or boat that they had in Orange Beach, Alabama. When we get Pamela Wiggins back to the sheriff's office, she doesn't want to speak with us without an attorney.
But then they get an unexpected visit from Pamela's husband, Hugh, looking to cut a deal for himself.
Hugh Wiggins was not on our radar at all. So we're like, this case just gets crazier and crazier. And he actually spills all the beans. He sells his wife under the bus.
The first question we have is, where is the safe?
Do you want me to tell you, or do you want me to take you to it?
I want you to tell me at this point.
Well, first of all, I don't know for a fact that it's there. I was just told that it was there.
Who told you?
Pam told me.
Hugh had cut an immunity deal with the state attorney's office. And he told them where the guns could be found, where the safe was. That was sort of a turning point in this investigation.
Faced with her husband's betrayal, Pamela admits to taking the guns and safe. She tells detectives she got her marching orders from Patrick Gonzalez Jr.
Okay. He said, if we do the job, won't be in trouble. And I let him talk me into it.
I didn't hear you.
And I let him talk me into doing this.
Pamela Wiggins is charged with accessory after the fact. The rest of the crew are charged with murder and armed home invasion. As investigators continue to interrogate them, they all point the finger at Patrick Gonzalez Jr. as the man who turned that night deadly.
Because he's the one who pulls the trigger.
They explained that when they come in the front door that it's Gonzalez Jr. right away. When the first shot goes out, they're shocked, and they tell us that Gonzalez Jr. shot them both while they were in the bedroom.
Gonzalez Jr. told this tale of how we're going to rob these drug dealers and this bad guy, and there's millions and millions of dollars.
It was only supposed to be a robbery, and they were pissed because that is not what was supposed to happen.
Prosecutors in Patrick Gonzalez Jr.'s murder case are preparing for what they know will be a closely watched trial. It's one of the most high-profile cases in Pensacola's history.
I think that what was a challenge in this case was that you want to make sure that no stone goes unturned to make sure we obtain justice. It's a death penalty case.
Leonard Patrick Gonzalez Jr.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Gonzalez, you've been arrested on charges of homicide and home invasion and robbery with a firearm.
In October 2010, the trial of Patrick Gonzalez Jr. for the murders of Bud and Melanie Billings begins. Prosecutors have plenty of evidence that he wanted the Billings money.
I think that Gonzalez Jr. believed that there was a treasure trove at that house.
But they can't explain why he wanted them dead.
So the big question that still hangs in the balance is, why were the Billings killed? It just doesn't make sense because they got what they wanted. They got a safe. So why kill the parents?
It was supposed to be just a simple robbery, people needing money. I really am not sure what was in Gonzalez's mind, but I think if you watch the video and surveillance video and you see it, As quickly as he shot him when he come in that door, I think, in my opinion, he had full intentions of killing him as soon as he come in that door. He comes in the door and shoots him right away.
Patrick Gonzalez won't provide any answers about his motive. He maintains his innocence and declines to testify. But the state has another powerful weapon. As part of a plea deal, 2 of the crew members, Rakeem Florence and Frederick Thornton, have agreed to testify to their involvement in the murders.
We walked Florence and Thornton through the video, and they would say, "That's me. That's this. This is this person." It became alive through them. So you brought almost a color commentary right there from the guys who were inside the house.
I think it worked effectively.
The video was the overwhelming piece of evidence that sealed the fate of all these folks. The video cannot be cross-examined. It puts the people where they're at. It is the crime.
On October 28, 2010, the jury finds Patrick Gonzalez Jr. guilty of murder and armed home invasion robbery.
A judge ultimately, after sentencing hearings, sentenced him to death.
The other members of the deadly crew all receive heavy prison sentences, ranging from 20 years to life. Both Patrick Gonzalez Sr. and Pamela Wiggins die behind bars.
As a human being, you just have to look at the senseless nature of it. Just absolutely senseless violence that has inexorably changed people's lives by virtue of just mere greed. Senseless greed. And that's the thing that really saddens you, because, in many ways, all these people were drawn in for greed, and then a senseless double murder takes place. Families are torn apart. Both sides of the equation are forever changed by this.
Family was at the center of Bud and Melanie's life. Their daughter Ashley keeps their legacy alive by continuing to care for the children loved by the couple.
I just hope that one day that the kids grow up and they know that Melanie and Bud did love them.
It is so risky to try to make a living with art, but Jordy was compelled to create.
Jordy was always chill. I've never seen her upset, but towards the end, you could see the darker stuff come out.
When she didn't show up, her mother knew something was wrong. It was enough to drive her to file a missing persons report.
I actually located a steak knife in the bushes. I just remember thinking, holy crap.
We want to talk to you about it, get your side of everything.
We were just horrified something like this could happen to somebody like Jordy.
Once I made the connection, the glasses being hers, I started thinking that there's a lot more to this than just a missing person.
Your fear is you're not going to find her alive.
Spring 2016, St. Augustine, Florida. A picturesque seaside town with a thriving art community. Jordy Hudson is in her element, fresh off a successful art show.
She stood out from everybody else. She was always into what her passion was, art. Me liking art and her being an artist, I kind of looked up to Jordy. Always nice, genuine person. Way chill, way mellow.
Her work was different than most anything I'd ever seen. It was very visceral. Jordy put her heart and soul into it.
It was real, and it was genuine and original.
Jordy came from a family of artists, and from an early age had a strong persona.
She was just one of those people that just was very confrontational. It was evident in her personality, it was evident in her art.
She was tattooed, she was real punk looking.
She was always on the fringe. She was always out to make a statement. A leader, never a follower.
In 1985, at just 15 years old, Jordy attends the University of North Carolina School of the Arts. After that, the School of the Museum of Arts in Boston. And by her early 20s, her art is exhibited in galleries across the country.
It is so risky to try to make a living with art. But Jordy was compelled to create.
But Jordy's success is not without its struggles.
Jordy had meningitis, and possibly as far back as her college days. She had issues of lightheadedness. She had some serious muscular problems to the point where she literally could not walk or talk.
Jordy was sick for a long time. I knew that she was on some type of medication.
In 2012, when Jordy is 42, she moves from Milledgeville, Georgia, to an apartment in St. Augustine, Florida, to be closer to her mother, Judy.
Jordy's mother was a big support for her. Her mother was her caretaker, driving her around and handling her medications, which were numerous.
St. Augustine turns out to be the perfect place for Jordy to continue working on her art.
It literally is an artist's hangout. It has quite a vibe to it.
St. Augustine's always been a pretty artsy town. Way back when, there was a kind of a big hippie scene.
In late summer 2012, Jordy's success hits a setback after her health takes a near fatal turn.
She could not speak that clearly. She talked about having had dizzy spells. She was having to use a cane at some point, so she was having a very difficult time with this meningitis. Her illness brought out some rawness, some real heart, real emotion in her artwork.
She put her illness into her work. You could see the darker stuff come out, and it stuck out. And I believe that's because of her illness. Jordy only mentioned her illness 1 or 2 times throughout the time I knew her. She wouldn't let that hold her down.
I just think that her having this fatal disease couldn't help but influence her. I own a gallery called Space 8 here in St. Augustine, and I gave Jordy her show in 2012. That whole exhibition was under the context of her dying soon, like very soon. In advance of the show, we always get media coverage, and at the time, there's a publication called Folio magazine. They were sent to cover her and talk about her art.
Very first meeting, Jordy was one of those people that was memorable in so many ways. I photographed Jordy at her studio. She was in bad shape. They're not pleasant, happy photos. She was in a difficult time of her life, so we tried to reflect that. This cover shot, I didn't direct her. She was so good in front of the camera, and she would just bare her soul to me. She was a dream subject, somebody that wears their feelings on their sleeve out for all to see.
She had a teardrop tattoo under one eye. That was the only tear that could come out of that eye because she had no more tear duct. Just sad.
It's so striking that it was hard to take a photo that didn't mean something when you take a photo of Jordy. She was a very genuine and heartfelt person. When I was leaving, she said she wanted to give me a gift. She insisted that I take this medallion and treasure it still.
This issue of Folio Weekly is released in November 2012. Jordy's friends and family believe this will be her final art show.
Because we got so much press and because the story was so unique and compelling, it drew a big crowd. People were very excited about it. She was literally on her deathbed leading up to the show, during the exhibition. And I think it was just really emotional for her to get the acknowledgement for her art, not her, illness.
And soon, perhaps motivated by the show and the feature, Jordy's health improves.
It had gone into remission. I remember being surprised and being, happy that she beat it.
Over the years with Jordy, we would run into each other, would talk, and it's normally only about our art.
Here's an artist who apparently was recovering, who was getting stronger. She was back on the upswing.
She had that attitude that I'm totally comfortable with what we're doing, and she was great.
Jordy was just thriving and creating art and in not letting her illness drive her.
On Monday, April 11th, 2016, Jordy doesn't show up for her weekly visit with her mother, Judy. That causes Judy to become concerned.
Jordy Hudson would stop by her mother's place on a regular basis to pick up a stipend for rent or for food. When she didn't show up, her mother knew something was wrong.
When 3 days go by with no word from Jordy, Judy contacts the St. Augustine police.
At first, we weren't really concerned. We get calls all the time. My wife didn't show back up home. She hasn't been home all weekend. And come Monday, she shows back up because she's, been out partying.
I wasn't sure if she was just hanging out at someone's house, never came home.
But with these kind of investigations, we have to turn over every rock. We started looking at police reports and hospitals to locate Jordy.
The day Judy reports Jordy missing, Sergeant Etheridge responds to an unrelated call at 88 Cedar Street in St. Augustine.
The homeowner had called and said he had seen somebody's personal effects in his driveway, some blood on the sidewalk, and he wanted to make sure that nothing had occurred, that no one was hurt or injured.
When I went up there, I started talking to the homeowner. He showed me a pair of glasses, and where the blood drops were, they were right on the edge of out by the road on the driveway, close to the fence. Took, some samples for evidence, just in case something came up of it at a later time. I went and collected the pair of glasses and brought it back to the police department.
When he returns, Sergeant Etheridge continues reviewing Jordy's case and makes a disturbing connection thanks to the photo of Jordy that Judy had given to the police department.
The photo she provided had Jordy in dark frame glasses.
I scrutinized the photos a little bit more. I was able to see the hinge on the glasses detailed, and I compared them to what I had in my hand, and it was a dead ringer for the glasses in her photo. Once I made the connection with the glasses being hers, I started thinking there's a lot more to this than just a missing person.
We're thinking maybe she had gotten into a scuffle, something like that had possibly occurred.
Investigators work to identify Jordy's final moments.
I watched the video surveillance. I knew she was definitely with somebody that night, and that was our first break.
Last time I saw her was when she walked out the door. No idea that would have been the last time.
And using every tool in their arsenal, they focus on finding answers.
There was video surveillance directly in the area where the blood was located. How did we get so lucky?
It was when we showed her the picture, and she realized that we knew what we were talking about and that she needed to fess up.
The day Jordy Hudson is reported missing, detectives have discovered her glasses in the yard of a home in St. Augustine, Florida.
Myself and Detective Wachka went back out to 88 Cedar Street and started really doing a lot of more detailed search.
Not too long into the search, we discovered a large amount of blood in the bushes.
There was a significant amount of blood. It wasn't just somebody tripped and fell. It was a lot of arterial spray on the bamboo, on the fence, and, puddles of blood.
There was enough blood that we realized something definitely bad had happened to Jordy. I was starting to look through the underbrush. As I was moving it apart with my hands, I actually located a steak knife in the bushes. I just remember thinking, holy crap. One of the first things that we did is we went to Jordy's house. I looked around to see, was there a struggle? Did something happen? Is furniture overturned? To see if any items are missing, but nothing seemed out of place.
As detectives are leaving Jordy's home, they run into her neighbor, Fred Stanley.
While we were at Jordy Hudson's house, Fred Stanley was trying to get our attention. We walked out to him, started talking to him. We asked him, hey, when's the last time you've seen Miss Hudson? And he goes, well, we were at the Giggling Gator bar the prior weekend, which was the 9th of April. She was supposed to show up at her mom's house the Monday after the time she was at the Giggling Gator, and she never showed up. That, in turn, led us to go to the Giggling Gator to try to get video that night of who she was talking with, who she might have left with, and just any information that could show us where she might be.
Detectives head straight to the Giggling Gator, which is just half a mile from 88 Cedar Street, where police located Jordy's glasses and the knife the day after she went missing.
The Giggling Gator is basically like a dive bar. We've been there for just various, calls for service, fights, or whatever.
I worked at the Gator off and on for about 12 years. We do get a lot of tourists, but at the end of the night, it's usually people we already know. The police. I was at work, and they came in and said Jordy was missing. You feel worried. And you wonder, if they're safe or not. The next question is, what's your involvement with Jordy? I'm just a bartender and she's a patron.
With any investigation, one of the first things we start looking for is video surveillance. And I personally knew the Giggling Gator had a lot of video surveillance from previous cases that I'd worked.
The detectives are in luck. They're met with a treasure trove of video. They scroll back in time to Saturday, April 9th, hoping the video will shed light on Jordy that night.
There was no audio with the video surveillance from the Giggling Gator, so we have to try and put our mind in interpreting what the video is telling us.
The Giggling Gator was a little bit hectic. I noticed a couple of males that were in the back of the bar arguing.
They continue scanning through the video second by second. At 1:36 a.m., they spot Jordy. And she is wearing the glasses police found at 88 Cedar Street.
I was working that night, and she came in. She said hello. First thing I asked, how you doing? What can I get you? You could tell that her spirit was up. Jordy was having a decent night, a good night.
They also see Fred Stanley, her neighbor.
I could see Jordy come into the bar and that Fred was following her in. They ended up hanging out, having a couple of shots. And after a while, it looked like they got into a verbal argument. And Jordy seemed very upset and agitated.
You're just trying to figure out what was the incident between Mr. Stanley and Jordy?
It kind of looked like Fred was trying to get her to leave and she didn't want to go. Eventually, Fred left the bar and Jordy stayed and continued to have a couple more shots.
The argument caught on video leads detectives to wonder whether Jordy's neighbor, Fred Stanley, may be responsible for her disappearance.
We watch Fred leave the bar and walk down the street. He was never in any of the other video surveillance that would indicate he came back to do anything to Jordy.
By looking at the video, you can eliminate people or you can include people. And in this case, with Mr. Stanley, it excluded him.
Jose tells investigators he didn't notice anything unusual inside the bar that night.
I remember actually taking a break or have a cigarette. Jordy explained her new pieces and stuff. She did mention, like, some of my stuff could be dark. She asked questions like, are you into that type of work? And I told her I'm very open-minded. Just have to see it and see if I like it or not. So I remember when I said that, she smiled and she said, that's cool. Maybe you should come check out my new work. That's when I agreed to do it. You know, like, okay.
Jose doesn't know that these will be his final moments with his friend.
Last time I saw her was when she walked out the door. I just remember her saying, I'm gonna go hang out with some people. I expected to see her later on that week. No idea that would have been the last time.
As the detectives continue watching surveillance footage, something catches their eyes.
We saw the outside surveillance cameras, a large male and a couple other guys taking their shirts off like they were gonna fight.
I remember there was an altercation. There was an incident with two guys outside that I had to take care of. The bigger guy, I remember grabbing him and, you know, giving him a bear hug and trying to pull him back. He was a little bit bigger than me, intimidating. You know, the tattoos, the size of them. It was the first time and last time I saw that guy.
The large male was covered in tattoos. One was a big giant sword and head tattoos. After that fight kind of dispersed is when you see Jordy walk outside and begin conversing with this large white male with the tattoos.
They didn't seem like they were having issues, Jordy and the male. We noticed two of the males walk off with her.
The glasses were on her face when she left the bar at 3 o'clock in the morning. And then as of Monday morning, those glasses were in the driveway next to blood.
Whoever the men seen walking off with Jordy are, they are now suspects in her disappearance.
I knew she was definitely with somebody that night, that something had happened, and that was our first break.
Your fear is you're not gonna find her alive.
On April 15th, 2016, a day after Jordy Hudson's mother reported her missing, investigators have found surveillance video of her leaving the Giggling Gator bar with two unidentified men.
We saw the outside surveillance cameras and we saw her leaving with those two individuals.
Watching the video surveillance, I knew Jordy, but nobody else had a name. I had no clue how we were gonna figure that out. It's during the time that I'm watching the video surveillance that one of the bartenders says he recognizes one of the males and knows his name, Trinity Boykin. Trinity had gotten into the fight with the man that Jordy had left with. Trinity was not a suspect only because we saw Trinity leave, and he didn't leave with Jordy. So when the bartender told me that he knew Trinity Boykin from the video surveillance, that was my first clue that, okay, maybe he can have some other names for the other subjects. My goal at that point was to get him in to talk to him. When I ran Trinity through our police database, I had his information, his telephone number.
Detective Ochkai contacts Trinity and asks him to come in the following day for an interview.
So when Trinity comes in for the interview, we told him, you're possibly a witness and we just want to know the information that you know. He tells me that he had a history with Harry. which was the guy's name that he gave us.
Trinity does not know Harry's last name.
He tells me that they ended up arguing over an ex of Harry's that Trinity was now friends with. Trinity didn't like the way that Harry had treated her, and so it came to blows outside. But he says, you know, I left and I haven't seen Harry since. So at that point, we just start figuring out a way we can find Harry. This is somebody that we needed to track down and talk to.
As they work on identifying Harry, investigators are also trying to learn more about Jordy's movements on the night she disappeared.
At this point, we decide to look to see if we could find more video surveillance of Jordy after she left the Giggling Gator.
We weren't sure where they went, but we had some idea because the investigators had found blood on the scene on Cedar Street.
We hit every road and house in that neighborhood looking for video to see if we can see them.
There's a lot of bed and breakfasts back there because there's some historic homes. If you had a B&B, you certainly would have had some security.
One of the Airbnbs had a pretty good video surveillance system that had night vision that was pointed pretty much directly in the area where the blood was located. We were like, how did we get so lucky?
Investigators immediately begin reviewing the footage, hoping it will show what happened to Jordy on the night of April 9th.
It's very time consuming because you're watching the video frame by frame, minute by minute, at the same time as it's actually live. You don't want to speed through it because you could miss something.
Though the footage is grainy, they spot two individuals walking down Cedar Street at nearly 3 a.m., shortly after Jordy left the Giggling Gator.
When we picked them up on video, that third subject was no longer with them, and it would just appear to be Jordy and this large white male with tattoos on Cedar Street.
Two people got to one spot. You can clearly see them walking down the street. You're like, okay, this is going to get me somewhere good. We're getting closer to it, finding out what happened on Cedar Street.
They're talking, and then at one point, they were walking down into more shadows across the street where we located the blood. And now they look agitated. They look upset. They look like they're arguing.
The headlights of an oncoming car illuminate what happens next.
You see what appears to be an upward motion with the male's hands as if he's stabbing the female. And the next thing you see is she's on the ground and he's dragging her body into the driveway. We had no clue that that's what we were going to recover, that it was going to actually be a video of her being stabbed and then tossed over the fence, and we were just shocked.
Detectives in St. Augustine, Florida have uncovered home security video that captures Jordy Hudson's horrific final moments.
I watched that video, and you can see him pick her up and throw her on the ground several times. And then finally, at one point, he picks her up and throws her over a little white picket fence and just walks away. Like nothing had happened. The difficult part was there's no ifs, ands, or buts in my mind. I was watching Jordy get murdered.
The police, they came and said,
Unthinkable that somebody could do that to somebody that's so vulnerable.
Now I need to do everything in my power to find where she is so I can at least give her mom that closure that she needs to be able to bury her daughter.
Despite the poor quality of the video, police are able to determine the man who killed Jordy is the same tattooed man who was seen leaving the bar with her.
He had a very distinct tattoo of a cross, and you can barely see it because, again, the quality of the video is not good, but it was good enough that you could see that tattoo on Cedar Street, and it matched the tattoo that he had from the Giggling Gator.
Detectives have only been able to identify the suspect as Harry and have no way to track him down. They turn back to the surveillance to see if they've missed anything.
At about 6:30 in the morning, we see a car pull up directly in front of 88 Cedar Street, and the back door opens up.
2 people exit the vehicle. Detectives recognize the first as Harry, but they can't identify the woman who is with him.
We could tell that the female that was with him was very short. She did not appear to be taller than the car.
You can tell that she's acting as the lookout.
You could see Harry lift up what we believe was Jordy over the fence and put her in the back seat of the car. He gets back in the driver's seat. The female with him gets back in the passenger seat, and they drive off heading eastbound on Cedar Street.
When the car leaves, as it drives by, you're doing everything you can to maybe get some identifiers to the vehicle. We could tell from the video that it was either dark blue in color, possibly black.
As they're watching the video, one of the detectives states he believes the car is a Nissan Versa.
We were like, there's no way. Like, we can't figure that out just by a video. And he was like, I'm telling you right now, I recognize the taillights and the headlights. It's gonna be that car.
If they can identify the owner of the vehicle, it could lead them to Harry.
I'm trying to go frame by frame and get any information and get that tag number. We had a couple more tools in place that could enhance video, help us get that tag number. One of the guys that works there, he's great with video. He can do some stuff with video that's amazing. We aren't lucky enough. We were able to identify that tag number. At that point, they were able to identify the last name of somebody that owned a vehicle matching that description.
We were able to pull up the license tag.
The vehicle comes back to a woman named Judith Branson. A quick search reveals she has a son named Harry. Investigators now have their suspect's full name: Harry Branson.
After we got the last name Branson, we were able to pull Harry's police record. And fortunately for us, when somebody goes to jail, they take pictures of all their tattoos. And the one tattoo that stood out with Harry's police record was a very big cross on the front of his chest and his skull tattoos on his head.
From the size, the height, the weight, everything else with the tattoos, he was easily identifiable.
Now, knowing his name, there actually is a way we can find him.
St. Augustine police identify Harry Branson as the suspect in the murder of Jordy Hudson. They can't find him, but they do get hold of his mother, Judith.
She told us she knew nothing of what had occurred. She had woken up the next morning and her car was where it was supposed to be and she had gone to work. And all of us believed she didn't know what her son had done.
Miss Branson wasn't aware that he had taken her car, and at first she's like, no, that's not him, because we showed her a picture of him. The large tattoos all over his body and the head tattoos. And eventually she's like, yeah, that's my son, Harry. And she agreed to let us go through her car to see if we could find any evidence. We opened up the doors and we saw a lot of reddish brown staining that appeared to be blood. At that point, we sealed the car up and it was transported to the evidence text to go through and see if we can find anything.
At that point, Branson knew we were on to him. He found out the police were talking to his mother, and he ran.
Detectives believe their best lead to Harry may be the woman seen in the surveillance video with him, but they still have not been able to identify her.
We started looking for females that he could be associated with.
They discover police recently responded to a domestic dispute at Branson's residence. The victim in the report is his girlfriend, Christine Thomas.
We discovered that Christine Thomas was very short. She was like 4'11", and she matches the height description when she was standing next to the car.
So Christine's brought in for an interview.
And your name?
Christine.
Christine.
Do you know who I'm talking about when I say Harry?
Harry Branson.
Yeah.
We have had an on-again, off-again relationship since I got here in January.
Have you ever been to Cedar Street here in town? Do you know where Cedar Street is?
No.
I'm going to tell you that we have several videos from Cedar Street or Friday night into Saturday morning with a female that looks very similar.
It's you. Okay. I want to know why I have you at Cedar Street on film.
I don't even know where Cedar Street is.
She definitely is not being cooperative. There were quite a few questions that she totally lied.
That video shows you and Harry, okay, on Cedar Street.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm telling you, Saturday morning, we have several surveillance cameras.
It's having to be pulled out of her instead of telling the truth.
This is Jordy.
Yeah, because I've never seen a lady in my life.
It was when we showed her the picture of the Versa and her standing there next to it on the passenger side is when she realized that, we knew what we were talking about and that she needed to fess up.
Would you share with me what the first thing out of your mouth was when he called you? So you said to him, what the fuck happened? What did he tell you?
Harry said, hey, we need to go check this girl I got into a fight with. She tried to rob me. So they drove down to Cedar Street where the incident occurred.
All of a sudden, she pulled a knife on him. Well,
pulled a knife on
Harry.
On Harry? Okay.
So he either went like that and pushed her or whatever, and I guess she flew over a fence.
Branson put Jordy's body in the back seat of their car. They drove out to County Road 13, and he ended up burying her body.
On April 19th, 10 days after Jordy Hudson's final moments were caught on video, detectives arrest Christine Thomas. That same day, they finally tracked down Harry Branson.
Branson had been on the run. He was hiding maybe a half a mile away in a little creek behind some people's houses.
Lucky for us, we were able to get the U.S. Marshals involved, and they were able to get him in custody.
On the way back to the station, Branson says he wants to talk.
What happened?
I about got in a fight at the Giggling Gator. And the people I was with took cabs and left.
As an investigator, one of the greatest things that we can do with a suspect is let them talk. So instead of interrupting him, we let him tell his whole story, because eventually the evidence is going to prove otherwise.
It was the girl and some guy. They said they was gonna give me a ride home.
Okay.
But we had to walk back through the neighborhood to go get the car.
Mm-hmm.
And next thing I know, we walk around the corner and both of them pull out knives on me. Started saying, "It's empty your pockets."
He stated that to protect himself, he ended up killing her. He was scared, he was frightened, he didn't mean to do it.
The guy hauled ass.
Okay.
He just dipped out.
After Branson was completely finished with the story, the decision was made that we would let him know we had video surveillance. Once I told him we had video surveillance of the whole crime, he put his head down, closed his eyes, and sat there for a little bit. And then after a couple of minutes of sitting there, he looked up and said, "Okay, I'll tell you the whole story."
On April 19th, 2016, 10 days after Jordy Hudson was last seen alive, St. Augustine police arrest Harry Branson for her murder. Branson originally claimed he killed Jordy in self-defense, but now he says he's ready to tell the truth about what happened.
We have the whole thing on video. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to be 100% truthful with us. Branson told us that they had left the bar, that they had been hanging out and talking, and at some point, Jordy said something to make him mad.
I don't even know what she had said, but I snapped. I completely lost it, and I don't know why or how.
He punched her in the face. And his story was that at that time, Jordy pulled the steak knife from her purse and tried to attack him.
She swung the knife at me, and I grabbed her hand and shoved it back at her, and it stabbed her in the throat.
She was much smaller than him, so if he was trying to attack her, I don't know that that is wrong of her to pull a knife. She may have pulled a knife, but you can't tell that from the video.
After his interview and him eventually telling us what had occurred, he agreed that he would give us the location of the body so that we could put Jordy to final rest.
Branson leads police to his property in a rural part of the county.
When you go up and you turn to the yard, there's a fire pit right over there, under the fire pit.
Did you burn her?
No. I buried her. I freaked out. I didn't know what to do.
He told us that he had started a bonfire afterwards so that nobody would see where he had just recently dug up the ground.
All right, so she's buried right there.
Yeah.
We had the evidence technicians from the sheriff's office start coming out, and we started excavating the fire pit. Ultimately, we located Jordy Hudson. She was wrapped up in a shower curtain in the hole about 3 feet down.
Her injuries are consistent with what Branson described in his confession. But there's an additional grisly detail he failed to mention.
Apparently, he cut off her fingers to remove the rings. It was unknown if that was a robbery or just an attempt to remove rings that might have helped identify her. What really gets me is that one of those cut off fingers was shoved into one of Jordy's neck wounds.
When the results of lab tests on Branson's mother's car come in, they strengthen the case. The blood is matched to Jordy Hudson.
Officials say Branson has been charged with murder and Thomas has also been charged with accessory to murder.
Branson faces a mandatory life sentence for the murder of Jordy Hudson. But in a bid to avoid life behind bars, he pleads guilty to second-degree murder and abuse of a dead human body.
Branson is a very violent subject. He would not say why he did it. He refused to tell us what exactly she said that made him mad.
Without the video, this crime may never have been solved. We may still be here today trying to find out where Jordy's at.
On May 30th, 2017, 13 months after the murder, Harry Branson is sentenced to 50 years in prison. For her involvement in the crime, Christine Thomas pleads guilty to accessory to second-degree murder and is sentenced to 8 years in prison.
The way she passed, that's just, nobody deserves what happened to her. That's not normal. Makes you think like what you could have done, or what would, could you say something else? It weighs heavy on you. It's something I'll never forget.
He loved his hockey. It was their thing.
He was so present in his son's life. They did everything together.
He was meant to take care of kids and give them a second chance.
Ricardo Hebe is doing everything he can to be a positive influence in these kids' life. He's stabbed 3 times in the chest and he's left for dead. Is there an old score to settle? Is this something from Ricardo's past?
We have this murderer out on the streets. Everybody was scared.
A lot of the details were just so gruesome.
The final moments of Ricardo Hebe's life must have been horrifically terrifying.
December 2018, Winnipeg, Canada. Ricardo Hebe has a lot to be grateful for this holiday season. He and his fiancée Candace are planning a big wedding in the new year, and he's found success in the real estate business. But growing up in Winnipeg's North End, this happy picture was far from guaranteed.
North End, Winnipeg is a place that has substance abuse issues related to crime. It's a city that has some real struggles.
Ricardo's early years, he had a lot of tumultuous relationships in his life with family or guardians. He kind of had to navigate on his own. We went to the same high school. His energy was so enigmatic, like everybody wanted to be around him. We just met one night and the rest was history.
His parents separated when he was young. They both left Winnipeg. He stayed because he didn't want to leave. So he ended up staying with one of his friends. We talked about his childhood. It was very broken.
On Ricardo's 16th birthday, an act of kindness changes his life.
One of his friends, his mom took him in. She was a single mom raising her own kids, and she was a foster mom as well. She just took him in, supporting him. As long as he went to school, that was the deal. And he kept that deal with her and got good grades. He was actually an honor roll student. He calls her super mom.
After Ricardo graduates from high school in 2002, he is touched by another act of kindness that changes his life.
We met through a mutual friend of ours, Sean. I've been doing home renovations and construction for 15 years now. He's like, oh, would you mind if I worked with you? I'm not going to get paid. I just wouldn't mind, somebody teaching me how to do these things. I said, yeah, absolutely.
Over the next several years, Ricardo learns Richard's business and eventually becomes his partner.
He was successful in real estate. Like, he could have retired probably by the time he was 45. if he would have kept at it.
Then, in December 2010, when he's 26 years old, a mutual friend introduces him to Candace Walacha.
He was this mean-looking guy, but so friendly and nice. So his laugh and his smile right away. And then we just hit it off there. He said, "You're mine." And I said, "Okay." He ended up signing his name on me that night. And I came home, my mom was like, "What the hell is on you?" And I was like, "Oh, God." I was like, "I found my love." I'm like, "He signed me." So we're stuck together now. I was like, "I found my forever." And I did. I really did.
A year and a half later, Candace gives birth to a baby boy.
I can't even explain it. Just seeing his eyes, holding Junior, that was his world. Everything was about him. He had to be with him 24/7.
On December 14th, 2014, 2 years after Junior is born, Ricardo asks Candace to marry him.
He was really excited to get married. That was kind of the last little bit to solidify their family as a unit.
But a chance encounter puts those plans on hold.
A couple of friends were doing group homework, and I think when he went there, he looked at these youth and he saw part of himself in these kids.
A group home is an environment where multiple people who are vulnerable live together. And it really hits home that these teenagers are just like him, who need stability, who need guidance.
Ricardo decides that the best way to repay the acts of kindness that turned his life around is to create his own group home for at-risk teens.
He just kind of followed his calling. He was meant to take care of kids and give them a second chance.
Transforming a property he owns into a group home takes several months and becomes Ricardo's sole focus. He even decides to postpone his wedding so he can fully concentrate on his newfound mission.
He signed up with an agency, which then certified him. He was approved, and 3 teenagers were placed in his care.
He gets to do what he loves, and he gets to keep kids off the street. And the kids loved him. He would take them to the gym. He was adamant on them going to school. He did everything with them. He wanted them to do better. They would laugh, they would even call him the dad. They looked up to him. It was like home. We'd have supper there with the kids. Our kid was there all the time.
By the winter of 2018, 4 years after he proposed to Candace, Ricardo is ready to plan their long overdue wedding.
We planned his wedding party. I was supposed to be the best man in his wedding. He wanted to proceed with it and to get married.
As Christmas approaches, Ricardo takes his family out for one of the favorite activities he enjoys sharing with his son. Cheering on the Winnipeg Jets.
He loved his hockey. It was their thing. Every Jets game they'd be watching, screaming. He just wanted him to be... His main thing was hockey. That's what he wanted him to do.
It was him and his son at the Jets game. He had season tickets, so he would always go to all the games and bring his son. He was so present in his son's life. They did everything together. You could just see he's just so happy and laughing.
They don't know that this happy night will be their final moments together as a family. On December 17th, Ricardo agrees to give his former business partner a hand with one of his construction jobs. At lunchtime, he tells Richard he's got to go run an errand.
I remember it vividly. Every time we leave for the night, we're not going to see each other till the next day. He would always do like this side fist bump to me. And so the day of, he was saying he has to go home, and then he's going to get something to eat, and he'll meet me back at the house. And I'm like, okay, sounds good. And then he did one of those fist bumps. And I remember it was like my brain took a picture of it, because I looked over and I seen his hand, and I remember like almost taking a picture of my hand touching his hand. I looked at his hand and I pulled my hand back, and I was thinking in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna see you in 20 minutes. I just had this intuition that that was the last time I was gonna speak to him.
At 2:30 p.m., a call comes into the Winnipeg police reporting a disturbance at Ricardo Hibi's group home.
Ricardo Hibi was on the phone with a lawyer at the time. So the lawyer hears a commotion, knows that there's something wrong.
The lawyer calls 911, and patrol units are immediately dispatched to Ricardo's group home.
They find Ricardo Hibi on the ground, covered in blood.
Detectives try to decipher a clue that could crack the case.
Somebody is lying. Somebody knows something about that blood stain on the door.
While they grapple with the question of who would want Ricardo Hibi dead.
We have the citizens coming together in uproar, thinking, what is going on in our city?
What did he do wrong? Nothing. He opened the door. He's trying to defend his home and defend the children in his care.
I didn't see real. I lost it because it was like a nightmare.
Winnipeg police responding to the group home run by Ricardo Hibi find him critically injured after being attacked and clinging to life.
You're looking at a chaotic scene. He's stabbed 3 times in the chest. He's left for dead. He's bleeding out. They're going to do whatever they can to save his life. The paramedics take him to the hospital as quickly as possible.
As Ricardo fights for his life, the search for clues about what happened to him immediately gets underway.
The forensic unit attend the crime scene and collect all the blood samples. They're going to collect DNA samples from different surfaces. Maybe the offender got cut in a struggle and has blood on the floor.
Detectives also launch an urgent search for witnesses. They discover that 2 of the 3 teenaged residents of the group home were in the house when Ricardo was attacked.
These kids, he said, they were in their rooms at the time when this happened. The investigators have to consider everything and everyone. This attack could have been connected to any one of the 3 boys that live there.
As the investigators interview the teens at the crime scene, they have their colleagues back at the police station check into the residents' backgrounds.
Investigators ask the gang unit and in the drug unit if there's any open investigations involving the group home or the people who live in the group home. But they find the opposite, that Ricardo Hibi is running a really clean ship and he's doing everything he can to be a positive influence in these kids' life. They actually have a lot of respect for him and they speak very highly of him.
The teens also tell the police there's one more resident of the group home who's known to everyone as CH, but they haven't seen him all day.
CH was not there at the time. It's imperative that the investigators find CH and interview him as well.
Detectives get the addresses of CH's school and work and begin trying to track him down. As they do, word comes that this has just become a homicide case.
Ricardo Hebe was pronounced dead at the hospital.
Ricardo's fiancée Candace is home when she gets the call that turns her world upside down.
Hearing the words that he's dead, it didn't seem real. I lost it because it was like a nightmare. I couldn't speak, I couldn't think, I couldn't breathe half the time. I would lay there like begging him to come back. He was my everything. Losing him literally destroyed my life.
I'll never forget that phone call because all I could hear was Ricardo's dead. And instantly I dropped the phone. I couldn't breathe. I fell down. I was crying. Thank God my husband was carrying our child because I was completely distraught. It was just heart-wrenching.
As Ricardo's stunned loved ones try to cope with the terrible news, Winnipeg detectives continue looking for reasons and potential suspects.
Why did the suspect do this? Is there an old score to settle? Is this maybe something from Ricardo's way past and somebody has asked this guy to go there and kill him? Who knows? But you can't rule out any of these options.
He didn't have any enemies. He didn't have anybody that had a personal vendetta against him. He never screwed somebody over.
Investigators examining the crime scene make a major discovery that they hope will shed light on what happened.
There's a camera showing the exterior of the residence, so it would show anyone coming up to the door.
Police are able to quickly review the surveillance video, and when they do, they learn the camera was an eyewitness to the murder. They are able to play back Ricardo Hebe's final moments.
The surveillance footage shows a man in a black coat walking up to the group home. There is a brief interaction. You can't hear what's said, but the man in the black coat pulls out a knife, stabs Ricardo 3 times.
The crime was shocking. Here's a guy who is running a group home for vulnerable children. What did he do wrong? Nothing. He opened the door. He's trying to defend his home and defend the children in his care. And then he gets stabbed. The final moments of Ricardo Hebe's life must have been horrifically terrifying.
Despite showing the murder, the footage yields no clues to the identity of Ricardo's killer.
Unfortunately, the images are grainy, they're fuzzy, and they're just not good.
The exterior camera showed the suspect wearing a black jacket with a fur-trimmed hood. The hood was up.
The footage shows that Ricardo's attacker approached from the street and never entered the house.
The 2 kids who were in the house, they're ruled out at this point.
For detectives, it's now more urgent to find the one resident who was not home at the time of the murder, CH.
It's imperative that the investigators find CH and interview him. Maybe he knows something that the other kids didn't know, and also to be able to account for his location at the time the offense happened.
It's not clear where CH was at the time of Ricardo Hebe's death.
Police are just trying to piece together if he's connected to all of this.
The day after Ricardo Hebe is stabbed to death, detectives are urgently searching for the one resident of Ricardo's group home who cannot be accounted for, a teen known to his friends as CH.
At this point, the investigators still haven't tracked down CH. The first obvious place to check would be the school and his place of work. It turns out that he didn't attend either of them on that day, which is a little weird because he was expected to be in school and he was scheduled to be at work, but he didn't show up for either. And there's no account of where he is or where he could be. So they cannot rule him out or rule him in any way at this point.
News of Ricardo's murder spreads through Winnipeg, stirring both grief and anger.
This was quite a high-profile murder in Winnipeg. It affected a lot of people. And the question I kept coming back to was, for what? Why did this happen? There's really no clear answer. I thought it was just so brutal because of the fact that Ricardo was quite a pillar in the north end of Winnipeg. It was just such a sad story. I mean, this man dedicated his life to trying to help young men who were in a similar position to him, so it seemed just so tragic that he would die while doing something good for the community. It just felt very cold and brutal.
We have the citizens coming together in uproar, thinking, what is going on in our city? We have this murderer out on the streets. We're all going out in support because we don't want this to die in the media. We want it to be up close and personal with every resident of this city because this is all of our issue. You know, it was my best friend who lost his life, but it could be my neighbors tomorrow. Everybody was scared. And so I think pushing it in the media was the only way that we were going to get any traction with finding this guy.
Two days after Ricardo Hebe's murder, as detectives continue to search for CH, police get an unexpected visitor.
On December 19th, CH arrived at police headquarters and tells the officer at the desk that he understands that homicide investigators want to speak to him. He tells police that he doesn't know who would have had reason to attack Ricardo. He doesn't believe it had anything to do with him. He certainly denies being part of the attack or having any knowledge whatsoever of it. The investigators want to know, where was he at the time of the attack? CH tells the investigators that he was at his girlfriend's house. His alibi is that he spent the whole afternoon with her, and that's why he didn't go to school, and that's why he didn't go to work. He said that he was dealing with some relationship issues, and that's why he hadn't come forward. And he claims that he didn't know anything about the homicide until he had recently heard about it, that police wanted to speak with him. CH says that he was with his girlfriend, Trinity Moore. Police now have to confirm that alibi.
CH gives detectives Trinity's address. They head straight to her house to check his story.
When police arrive at Trinity's address, they see that there's a blood stain on her front door. Trinity denies any knowledge of it, and she says that's the first time that she's seen that blood.
Trinity consents to police taking samples from the blood that's found on her front door.
The blood samples are sent to the police lab for testing as detectives continue their interview with Trinity. They ask if she can confirm CH's alibi, that he was with her on December 17th, the day of the murder.
Trinity told the investigators that CH does come over a lot, and he stays over there, and he spends lots of time with her at her home. However, she says that on the day of the homicide, he was not there.
In fact, Trinity tells the detectives she hasn't seen CH in days.
He's saying that he was there all day. She said, no, he wasn't. So someone's lying. Somebody knows something about that blood stain on the door.
Detectives investigating the stabbing death of Ricardo Hebe believe a teenage resident of Ricardo's group home has lied to them about where he was at the time of the murder.
CH says that he was with his girlfriend, Trinity Moore, but she said that she didn't see CH that day.
With his alibi in doubt, investigators now wait to see if DNA tests on the blood found on Trinity's door can connect CH to the murder. But they also have some follow-up questions for him. This time, CH is easier to locate. They find him standing outside the group home where he lives.
CH tells them that Trinity is mistaken, and he said that sometimes she takes medication and she forgets things, but he's actually angry that she says that he wasn't there because he is adamant that he was there. His alibi is very shaky, but there is no physical evidence to tie him to the scene. At this point, there is certainly not enough evidence to charge CH with anything.
4 days after Ricardo's murder, just 4 days before Christmas, the DNA test results from the blood stains on Trinity's door come in.
Those bloodstains came back as a match to Ricardo Hebe's DNA.
It is not contaminated with anybody else's DNA. It is Ricardo Hebe's DNA, and it is definitely something that happened after his attack. This is a huge break in the case because now there is a direct link from the crime scene to Trinity's front door. So somebody who killed Ricardo went through that front door and deposited Ricardo's blood on the door.
The test results convince detectives that Trinity knows more than she's told them about how Ricardo's blood got on her door. They rush back to her home to confront her. And that's when her story about the day of the murder changes.
She says that CH was there, that he was actually hiding in the back room. Trinity told the investigators that they have a rocky relationship at this time, and they had a fight. She says her brother, Kane, became aware of the altercation that she had had with CH and was furious. She didn't tell her brother that CH was in the back room, and her brother, Kane, left and he went looking for CH. She actually provided her brother with the address of the group home. And when he came back, he had blood on him, and as he left the blood on the door handle at the front of the house.
She says that he shows up, she sees his hands are bloody, and she sees him in possession of a knife, and she observes there's blood on it.
Was he looking to find CH and thought he killed CH? Or was he just lashing out at somebody? There's a couple of different possibilities here. The investigators show Trinity the images from the security camera from the front of the house where the attack is captured. She actually tells the investigators that her brother Kane has a jacket like that.
Trinity told investigators that she hadn't seen her brother since the day of Ricardo's murder.
She lied to police because she didn't want to get her brother in trouble. She was trying to protect her boyfriend as well.
With Trinity's statement, CH is cleared of any suspicion.
Now the investigation has taken a completely different turn. It looks now like Kane Moore is the #1 suspect. Once he was identified as a suspect, the investigators are going to look at his record.
Kane had a history of violence. He had a history of unprovoked attacks. Kane went to Stony Mountain, which is just outside Winnipeg. It's a federal prison. It's for serious and violent offenders.
While he's in the penitentiary, he's involved in another serious incident. He's a suspect in another stabbing inside in the penitentiary.
Kane was facing charges related to the death of another inmate.
Despite the pending charges, investigators learned that in October 2018, 2 months before Ricardo was stabbed to death, Kane Moore was granted parole and released from prison.
He's a very dangerous person, but he was not designated a dangerous offender by the courts.
He wasn't even supposed to be out on the street. In his parole documents, it stated that he is high risk to reoffend, and somehow he was let out.
When I found out, I was furious. How do you allow someone out who killed someone inside? If you can't protect people in there, how are you supposed to protect them out?
He's very volatile and he's got a very dangerous background, so it's urgent to find him as soon as possible.
Winnipeg detectives are on the hunt for 21-year-old Kane Moore, the prime suspect in the murder of Ricardo Hebe.
At this point of the investigation, the investigators have to find Kane Moore. It is imperative that they find Kane Moore.
Kane's sister Trinity tells the detectives that she has not seen or heard from him since December 17th, the day of the murder. Investigators begin tracking down other family members, hoping for a lead to his whereabouts.
His family are somewhat cooperative. They say that they haven't seen him in quite some time, but it can only be taken at face value because they could quite easily shelter him. The investigators went to all the known hangouts and the areas where Kane Moore has frequented and is known to frequent. They're not getting the best cooperation in these neighborhoods. Nobody wants to be seen speaking to the investigators. Nobody certainly wants to cooperate with them. And they draw a blank. They're not getting anywhere. Kane Moore's parole has been revoked at this point, so the investigators get a Canada-wide warrant for Kane Moore. They'd circulate a bulletin with his picture and his description to every officer.
After 2 weeks of an intensive search that began just before Christmas, police still have no sightings of Kane.
Nobody knows where he is. It looks like he's gone to ground and nobody can find him. He's on the run.
It was a brutal holiday season for Ricardo's friends and family. They're dealing with this awful tragedy, but they also have no answers. There are very few details at this point about where the main suspect in this murder is.
It took a huge toll on me, physically, mentally. I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping from the stress of it.
That just completely shattered everybody. It's unexplainable. My brain was numb. I I was trying to, soak in the shock.
Another week goes by with no progress in the manhunt. Then, on January 6th, 2019,
cadets that work with the Winnipeg Police Service came across an individual that was just walking on the street, and they were concerned that he was intoxicated.
They approached the individual, who provided them with a false name. However, when they detained him for being intoxicated and they searched his pocket, they found identification in the name of Kane Moore with a photograph that matched him.
Once cadets clue in and realize that they have the main suspect in Ricardo Hibi's murder, they call detectives immediately.
The cadets take Kane into custody and bring him to the station.
Kane Moore was arrested wearing a black winter jacket. The man who appeared in the surveillance video taken of Ricardo Hibi's death was also wearing a black jacket.
But when detectives show Kane the images from Ricardo Hibi's security camera, he insists it's not him.
He doesn't give anything up.
Kane Moore clams up, he denies any involvement in the murder, and he asks for a lawyer.
Kane Moore never admits to attacking Ricardo Hibi, and he never admits to killing him.
But when investigators examine the jacket Kane was wearing when he was arrested, they make a critical discovery.
Police found bloodstains inside that jacket. Investigators test the blood that's found in this black jacket, and the DNA matches Ricardo Hibi's DNA. Kane Moore is arrested for the murder of Ricardo Hibi.
There's a lot of inexplicable killings that occur, but in this case, even though there was no clear motive, there is enough evidence to suggest that Mr. Moore was upset with CH.
Kane Moore wanted to get into the house to find CH, and Ricardo blocked him. He was protecting the kids in his house and doing what he was supposed to do. And Kane Moore wanted to get in there and lashed out the way he always does, violently.
Kane Moore is charged with 1 count of second-degree murder. Ricardo Hibi's loved ones are shocked to find out he was killed by a stranger.
Kane Moore, he's never been around us. We never had him at the house. We had no idea who he was.
The news kind of came out that it was just some random guy. I was angry. We'll ever sit down and have a conversation if this guy asked me for forgiveness. I don't think I could do that.
Kane Moore's trial begins in September 2020. Prosecutors are confident they have the evidence to convict him of murder. They call their star witness, Trinity Moore, the accused killer's sister, to the stand and ask her about what she saw the day Ricardo was murdered.
Trinity Moore gave a sworn statement to police that her brother Kane Moore showed up, that she saw he had bloody hands.
Trinity Moore recants her statement when she's called as a witness. She tells a completely different story. When Trinity Moore changed her story, now there's the possibility of an acquittal.
Kane Moore is on trial for the murder of Ricardo Hibi. Prosecutors expect his sister, Trinity, to testify that he came to her home after the murder, covered with blood, and confessed. But her testimony stuns them.
When she gets up on the stand, she completely contradicts what she had told investigators.
She says that her brother was not involved and never came over.
She said that when she spoke to police, she didn't know what she was saying because she was high and drunk at the time.
When Trinity made the 180 turn on her story, it throws a wrench in the prosecution's case.
But even without Trinity's testimony, prosecutors can make their case to the jury solely based on the physical evidence.
That black coat that Kane Moore was arrested wearing wound up being a central piece of evidence.
There was video surveillance and forensic DNA evidence. We played the surveillance videos that show the individual approaching the residence, and we showed the actual stabbing. We also showed Kane Moore leaving the house.
The video surveillance and the forensic DNA evidence links him to that house.
Candace was there every single day. She seemed extremely strong given the circumstances, but when that surveillance video was played in court, she left sobbing, but she was there start to finish. I don't really know how she did it because a lot of the details were just so gruesome.
The jury deliberates for 6 hours. And on September 24th, 2020, reaches its verdict.
He was convicted of second-degree murder.
He's got a life sentence with no chance of parole for 15 years.
For Ricardo's family and friends, the sentence only adds to their pain.
He did not deserve anything less but life in prison with no eligibility for parole. And that's something that is still hurting us because he's still going to be eligible to come out eventually.
It's a really sad irony because Kane Moore is the exact type of young man Ricardo Hebe would have wanted to help. So you can't help but wonder if things could have gone differently. That didn't need to end up like that.
I accepted that there's nothing I could have changed. There's nothing that anybody could have done.
It wasn't supposed to be for him. This shouldn't even happen. He was taken from me. Not having him around, I am very, very lost still.
Despite the pain they live with every day, Ricardo's loved ones try to stay strong and keep Ricardo's memory alive, especially for his son, Junior.
Everybody dealt with it in their own way. I still have a good relationship with his son. I'm godfather to his son. I've made him a promise when he was alive, and I'm just fulfilling that promise to look after his son.
I want people to know that his heart was there. He wanted the best for these kids. It's just, everyone knows his legacy was left. And his smile, and just how genuine he is. And that's why I want to keep going. Our son has love for hockey. So he's an all-star now. Ready, he wants to play the Jets, he says. I said, do it. Your dad would be proud. He would watch you. He's a little hockey star now. But now I'm a hockey mom, so I got this. Did it for him and his dad.
were supposed to go out to eat. So she goes, let's do it after New Year's because we don't want to be outside these clowns when they're acting up during New Year's.
We can see this person go to Jamie's apartment and then is seen again exiting. His sweatshirt was blood-soaked.
It looked like a pretty brutal fight had taken place in that bedroom.
How could this have happened? They didn't have any answers for me.
We thought it was unlikely that it was a random act of violence.
We pull up Jamie's Facebook and see if she's friends with this guy. And she was. You wonder what his mindset is, what's he capable of.
New Year's Eve, 2016. Sioux Falls, South Dakota. 28-year-old Jamie Wounded Arrow is looking forward to an exciting new year. She's got a new home and big plans.
She had gotten her own apartment. She had gotten this job, and she loved it. She was proud of the fact that she did all of this stuff on her own. It kind of gave her that confidence, like, I can do this. Now I wonder how much more I can do.
Born on the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota and a member of the Oglala Lakota tribe, Jamie is the youngest of 8 children.
When Jamie was born, there was a lot of us in the family always trying to hold Jamie, always trying to be with Jamie.
She was a complete mama's girl. She loved her mom.
That bond that Jamie and my mom had together was unbreakable.
Jamie has always been proud of her Native American heritage, and it is a central part of her identity.
Being Oglala Lakota was like everything for her. There was like a sense of freedom, and I saw that from her.
And there's another part of Jamie's identity that she's proud of. Though her assigned sex at birth was male, she has always identified as female.
Jamie started to know that she was transgender and never hid that from day one. Especially how she would dress, the makeup, the way she carried herself, and into the schools. None of that was hidden. My mom would help Jamie and they would get through things together. My mom was always there for Jamie.
In some Native American cultures, the term used to describe a transgender person is two-spirited.
It's pretty much used everywhere now as the Native American community. If you're LGBT, this is what you are. It's just something that we're born with. This is how we walk. We walk both worlds.
But as time went on, Jamie started to find herself in a positive way.
When Jamie is 26, she decides to leave the reservation in search of a more supportive community and to start working on her sobriety. She moves to Sioux Falls and soon connects with a support group for the Indigenous LGBT community.
We were running the Sioux Falls Two-Spirit and Allies Society. So she walked over and she goes, "Are you guys Two-Spirit?" And we were like, "Yeah."
Future. She lands her dream job as a telemarketer, where she gets to connect with people from all walks of life.
She had gotten this job that it was 5-star call center here. She loved it. And she actually sat and told me, she goes, "Sister, I feel like I'm good. I finally feel like I'm good now, in a good place."
On New Year's Eve 2016, Jamie opts for a quiet night at home after picking up some takeout.
Jamie and I spoke over the phone. We were supposed to go out to eat. So she goes, "All right, well, let's do it after New Year's because we don't want to be outside these clowns when they're acting up during New Year." And I said, "Okay, yeah, we'll do it."
At 8:30 p.m., she settles in for the evening.
Jamie had posted a meme of Marge Simpson laid out in a bed, obviously sleeping. And Jamie posted it in a joking kind of way, indicating that although she knew most of her friends would be out partying that night, she had no intention of doing so.
And Jamie's sending out some text messages to family and friends that said, "Happy New Year."
Her loved ones don't know it is the final time they will ever hear from her.
Apartment manager called law enforcement after she had received some type of complaint from a tenant.
I was at home in bed, got a call. A young lady was walking down the hallway and she could smell something.
When patrol officers arrive, they knock on the door of the apartment that seems to be the source of the odor. The landlord provides them with the tenant's name, Jamie Wounded Arrow. There's no answer, so they force their way in.
Nothing seemed to be in disarray in either the living room or the kitchen, but that was a different story once you entered the bedrooms.
In the closet was Jamie. On her back, she'd been secreted in that closet. Her shirt was pulled up and I could see what appeared to me to be stab wounds to her chest. Jamie's body's obviously in a state of decomposition. What's going through my head is that we are way behind. Everyone talks about the first 48. We're way beyond that. We're way past 4 or 5 days. We have homicides that are pretty much cut and dry, but it was apparent to me that this would be a whodunit.
Investigators follow a dark trail of clues left by a killer.
The knife was found in the bedroom. There was blood on it.
Our coroner had no problem saying that he believed that that was the murder weapon. When you're looking at video and you see someone enter and when he exits, he's blood-soaked, you start to key in on that.
And find themselves in a race against the clock.
Anytime you have, especially a homicide suspect who's on the run, who's also on the run from parole, you still wonder what his mindset is. Is this an isolated incident? What's he capable of?
Sioux Falls police have discovered the body of Jamie Wounded Arrow, stabbed to death in a closet in her apartment. They believe she has been dead for several days.
The body is speaking to you, and it's saying a lot. I had some questions in regards to how Jamie's shirt was when she was stabbed. We pulled her shirt back down and we could match the stab wounds on her chest to the rips in the fabric. So that helps to tell the story that her shirt was down when she was attacked. I believe he just attempted to secret her in the closet. When he pulls her by the shirt to get her in the closet, the shirt comes up around her neck.
As they wait for the coroner to arrive, detectives turn to the rest of Jamie's apartment, searching for any clues.
So in this crime scene, you're looking for things that are there and more importantly, things that aren't there. Her phone isn't there. There's no purse there. It's apparent that somebody has left with these things.
Although these items are missing, detectives don't see any signs of a break-in. As they continue to scour her apartment, they discover what they believe could be the murder weapon.
The knife was found in the bedroom. There was blood on it. Jamie's body sustained 7 stab wounds, all of which were consistent with a 3.5 to 4-inch blade of a kitchen knife.
That knife was bagged, sent into the lab for forensic testing. Our coroner had no problem saying that he believed that that was the murder weapon.
With a killer on the loose, investigators know they must move quickly.
Jamie's phone was missing. Obviously, that becomes a major focus with some of the investigators that I've tasked to find her phone. So there are subpoenas being written, search warrants, everything we can do possible to find the phone. The other huge thing in today's day and age is video.
Jamie's apartment complex had surveillance cameras stationed at various locations on the property, near the entrances and exits to the buildings themselves.
You're literally praying that these cameras are functional. So there's phone calls being made to management to have them save and preserve all that videotape.
While they wait to get the video, detectives are faced with the difficult task of contacting Jamie's family.
When I had gotten that call, I just asked why. Why has this happened? And how could this have happened? They didn't have any answers for me. Then I let my mom know. And that was hard to relay that information to her because she had dementia. It brought tears to our eyes because it was devastating. It was unreal. It was heartbreaking.
When I got the news, it was a big shock, a huge shock for us. How did this happen?
News of the murder of a Native American transgender woman brutally stabbed in her own home quickly spreads.
It's unusual. It is still headline news when a murder happens in Sioux Falls. So the fact that it happened on New Year's Eve to a member of the trans community was a really big deal. They wanted to make sure a killer was brought to justice.
In search of answers, detectives begin questioning Jamie's neighbors.
It was a huge apartment complex. I'd say probably 1,000 people living there.
It seemed to be a place where people kept to themselves, people minded their own business, and so it wouldn't be unusual for a tenant to not be seen by his or her neighbors for a number of days.
But you can't discount someone in the building having knowledge and potentially being involved. So we talked to all of them just to find if they were witnesses, and the canvas ended up revealing really nothing. Nobody heard anything.
Detectives also look for clues in Jamie's cell phone records and activity on social media. It ends with her post at 11:08 p.m. on New Year's Eve.
There was nothing there. This is the last communication she has. There is no usage of her phone, no private messages or DMs.
Meanwhile, investigators get the answer they are hoping for regarding the apartment complex's security cameras. They were working, and the video is available.
Detectives immediately retrieve the video, and they start to pick it apart.
It's a situation where you're waiting with bated breath to see, is our perpetrator going to show himself to us?
Sioux Falls detectives are pouring through security footage from Jamie Wounded Arrow's apartment complex frame by frame. hoping to find clues about what happened in her final moments.
You have to watch every second of it because you don't know what's going to be missed.
The video shows Jamie arriving home at 8:30 p.m. on New Year's Eve. The investigators don't see anything unusual in the footage after that, until several hours later.
We had surveillance footage that showed a person arriving to her apartment complex at around 3:30 in the morning.
About 2 minutes after that, you see him walk back and out the apartment complex. About a minute or two later, he reappears and comes back to the entry of the apartment complex, walks down the stairs to what is Jamie's apartment, and then is seen again an hour and 10 minutes later exiting the apartment complex.
Investigators believe they are looking at Jamie's killer. He is the only person seen on surveillance during the window of time in which Jamie was murdered.
It was like hitting a jackpot. You can't believe how lucky you are, how lucky that the cameras were recording, that the footage was still there, that it captured our suspect.
But the video doesn't give the investigators a clear look at the man's face. Still, what they see leads them to believe this is possibly someone who Jamie knows.
The suspect knocked on the door for a significant amount of time, received no response. He walked out, walked around the apartment complex, banged on her window, woke her up. He came back in and she let him in the house. It's highly unlikely that he's a stranger.
When he arrived to Jamie's apartment, he was wearing basketball shorts, sneakers, and a sweatshirt. His appearance changed when he came out of Jamie's apartment sometime after 4:40 in the morning.
What they see next convinces detectives they are indeed looking at Jamie's killer.
And you could read that this was a sweatshirt that said Peabody Energy on it. And it appeared to me that the sweatshirt was bloody. I'd go so far as to say blood-soaked. When you're looking at video and you see someone enter and when he exits, he's blood-soaked, you start to key in on that.
Then we see him walk over to a hill with kind of a grove of trees, and he starts throwing things into this little ravine, and then he disappears from view.
Officers rush to the ravine behind the apartment complex and begin searching the area.
We found Jamie's clutch purse with Jamie's ID and Social Security card in it, and a debit card. There was no money in it. We don't know if he had taken money out of it, but he certainly had not taken the debit card out of it.
As they investigate, detectives also ponder potential motives for the vicious attack.
In my mind, there was some motive besides robbery. We thought it was unlikely that it was a random act of violence, given that we had seen the perpetrator's behavior on the surveillance footage, and he appeared to know his victim. Investigators wondered whether Jamie's status as a trans female was a motive here. It certainly could have been, so we had to look at it as if it was potentially a hate crime.
I remember on the news they kept saying, she's now the second or third transgender woman in the United States to be killed on New Year's. It was a shock.
Searching for any evidence to support that possibility or point to a different motive for this murder, detectives begin a deep dive into Jamie's background. They quickly uncover some troubling information about her past.
She battled addiction. She had had some run-ins with the criminal justice system. So she had a lot of struggles. She was battling through them and doing the best that she could.
The investigators learned that Jamie's struggles included a conviction for drug possession. As a result, the court had ordered her into a treatment program.
She had been to the Arch, which is a halfway house in Sioux Falls. A halfway house means you're coming out of incarceration and they're trying to blend you back into society. There's AA meetings, there's any number of things that are geared to get a person who's in that system back out into society. But I knew from our investigation that while she was at the Arch, she came into contact with many felons.
We know that sometimes people who are in treatment use the connections they make at those facilities for good, as we believe Jamie did. We also know people often use those connections for bad. There were a number of red flags raised.
Homicide detectives wonder if someone Jamie Wounded Arrow met during her stay at a halfway house might have been involved in her murder. Looking for any connection, they examined the data from Jamie's missing cell phone, and they find something unexpected.
We learned that 2 calls had been placed after the time the likely perpetrator had left Jamie's apartment. She had already been killed. So we knew it wasn't her using the phone. It had to be the killer. Law enforcement was able to determine that the first call was a misdial.
We could see through the records, we got a hold of this gentleman who had nothing to do with the case.
After the wrong number, the records show the second call from Jamie's phone came at around 5 a.m. on New Year's Day to a woman named Brianna White Butterfly.
She told investigators the call had been placed to her from her boyfriend. She identified him by name, Joshua LeClaire. She indicated to law enforcement that she had been with him earlier in the night on New Year's Eve, and that he'd left at some point that night.
They had argued, he was drunk, and he had left the house, and he did not have a phone. And she was wondering whose phone he was using to call her in the early morning hours.
We learned Joshua LeClaire is a Native American man who was raised on the Pine Ridge Reservation and in Rapid City, South Dakota. He also had a conviction for first-degree burglary from 2011. He was sent to prison for that. He was released on parole in 2016, but absconded, meaning he disappeared, ceased communications with his parole officer, and had a warrant out for his arrest at the time Jamie died.
Joshua LeClaire is now the prime suspect in Jamie's murder. And as detectives dig further into his past, they find a clear connection between him and Jamie.
Joshua and Jamie knew each other. We know they had contact together at the Arch in Sioux Falls when both of them were going through treatment.
There's obviously a connection there. So we pull up Jamie's Facebook and see if she's friends with this guy. And she was.
We know that they had some communications, though we're not sure of the extent of their relationship and what it all entailed.
Investigators hope Jamie's family can fill in some blanks about the relationship.
It started out as far as Jamie helping with money, with $20 here and $20 here. And I don't know if there was a relationship there or what, but it had started because he was there also at the Arch.
While Joshua LeClaire does seem to resemble the man in the security video, the footage is grainy, and detectives have no physical evidence linking him to the murder, or a motive for him to have killed someone who appears to be a friend.
There was no evidence to show that Josh held any ill will towards her. But none of this makes sense.
The investigators are ready to confront Joshua to see if he can clear things up.
We immediately put out what we call a BOLO, or be on the lookout, for Josh.
As they search for him, detectives also track down his friends and press them for leads on his whereabouts.
Law enforcement started with Joshua's immediate circle, his girlfriend, friends who knew him, perhaps friends who had spent time with him in the days leading up to Jamie's murder. That led them to one of Joshua's friends who had spent time with him on New Year's Eve.
The friend, Roscoe Poorbear, has an unexpected and stunning story to tell.
Roscoe Poorbear told law enforcement he had in fact been with Joshua on the early morning hours of New Year's Day. Roscoe noticed that Joshua was wearing a bloody sweatshirt and saw Joshua throw the sweatshirt into a dumpster at a construction site. They were able to go to the construction site and they found the sweatshirt just where Roscoe said it would be.
The bloody sweatshirt appears to be the same one worn by the man in the surveillance video from Jamie's apartment complex.
To be able to see the logo of that sweatshirt on the camera, to find that sweatshirt in a dumpster when a witness had said, this is where Joshua LeClaire threw this sweatshirt. That was a very important part of the case, to see that.
As they send the sweatshirt to the forensics lab for testing, police also send the search for Joshua LeClaire into high gear.
At this point, efforts to locate Joshua are ramping up significantly, with statewide law enforcement to check all corners of the state for locations Joshua may possibly be. The concern was, has he fled?
Anytime you have, especially a homicide suspect who's on the run, who's also on the run from parole, you still wonder what his mindset is. Is this an isolated incident? What's he capable of?
A search is underway in South Dakota for Joshua LeClaire, the prime suspect in the murder of Jamie Wounded Arrow. He's been on the run for 2 days, and investigators have no leads to where he could be hiding. Until Sioux Falls police respond to a routine call for help.
Local law enforcement were called to a report of an intoxicated person. They thought this was a call of a drunken, disorderly person who needed to go to detox. Police show up, and initially they don't know who they're speaking to because the man gives them a false name.
He lied about who he was. Patrol officers didn't know going in that they were dealing with Josh LeClaire.
But once the officers arrest him for creating a public disturbance, they discover his true identity. Homicide detectives rush to the station to interrogate him about Jamie's murder.
When Detective Bakke got Joshua into the interview room, he was intoxicated, and Detective Bakke knew that he had to buy himself some time. He offered Joshua coffee, offered him cigarettes in an effort to help him sober up.
As soon as the detective sits down with his suspect, something catches his eye.
Joshua had a significant laceration on his palm.
We knew, based on the nature of Jamie's wounds, that the kitchen knife was the murder weapon. And Joshua LeClaire's injury was consistent with using a knife to stab another person. Detective Bakke smartly didn't mention it for a number of hours. It was there, he saw it, and he waited for the right opportunity to talk to Joshua about it.
You come and confront him, there's going to be an immediate denial. It's human nature, and it's getting by that denial. It's working around that denial and getting to the truth. That's what takes time. He didn't ever deny knowing Jamie. He didn't deny going to her apartment. He simply used the excuse that he was blackout drunk and could only remember bits and pieces of why he was there and what had happened during the interaction.
But Detective Bakke continues to press him harder and harder.
We started to broach the fact that he was in the apartment and there was a fight.
Joshua said that he and Jamie had argued over a pair of shoes, but Joshua's excuse didn't make sense. The brutality of her murder was not consistent with an argument over shoes.
As I began to press a bit, Josh eventually did say that he got the cut on his hand from stabbing Jamie.
This was a confession. This meant, on top of all of the other evidence we had to that point, we had an admission: he is the killer.
The evidence in this case, it was stacked.
We had surveillance footage showing Joshua LeClaire had been to Jamie's apartment. We saw him on video throwing items of Jamie's into the ravine. We knew he had an injury to his hand, which could only have been caused by stabbing someone repeatedly and the knife sliding up his palm. We knew from Roscoe Poorbear that Joshua had the same sweatshirt we saw him wearing at Jamie's apartment, only when Roscoe saw it, it was bloody.
And when the lab results come in, they show the blood on the sweatshirt matches both Joshua LeClaire and Jamie Wounded Arrow.
All of that, along with Joshua's confession, left no doubt in anyone's mind that he was the killer. We don't know if Joshua panicked after he killed Jamie. He did some things which seem counterintuitive. He left the knife, he took her IDs, but left his blood.
To a casual observer, someone who watches crime show TVs, they would question, why would the suspect do that? Well, the biggest factor, in my opinion, is that this person's never killed before. It doesn't make sense because it can't make sense.
What we do know is that he did enough in his mind to try to avoid getting caught.
On January 8th, 2017, Sioux Falls police charged Joshua LeClaire with first-degree murder for the stabbing death of Jamie Wounded Arrow. But even after a long interrogation, investigators still don't know his motive or what happened to Jamie in her final moments.
In regards to the transgender portion of this case and potential hate crime, it simply wasn't there.
In my opinion, the brutality of the crime certainly indicated that Joshua knew Jamie and that he was motivated by some sense of hatred, even if not necessarily based on her status as a trans woman. We don't know if he made advances toward her that were rejected or a drunken fight of some sort, an argument. Just the viciousness of the attack signaled to me that there was something deeper beyond just a casual acquaintanceship.
Faced with the overwhelming evidence against him, Joshua LeClaire pleads guilty. But before the court can hold a sentencing hearing, the confessed killer drops a bombshell.
At his pre-sentencing interview, Joshua LeClaire gave information that changed everything.
Joshua LeClaire has pleaded guilty to stabbing Jamie Wounded Arrow to death in her Sioux Falls apartment. He's never said why he did it. But before he can be sentenced, he makes a stunning claim.
He told the investigator that there had been a sexual advance made towards him and Jamie had grabbed a knife and he had defended himself.
At first, he said there was an argument over shoes. It wasn't until his sentencing was looming that he said Jamie had made a sexual advance toward him, that he felt threatened by it, and he stabbed her in self-defense. It was offensive, frankly, to have Joshua try to shame Jamie in this way. There were no indications that she had made any advances toward him.
I don't believe it to be true in any way, shape, or form. I believe that's a person who's at the end of the road and is about to be sentenced is going to say anything.
The only person here who had defensive wounds to her hands and her forearms was Jamie, whereas Joshua had none of that. The only wound Joshua had was the injury to his palm, which was as a direct result of stabbing Jamie so many times. At this point, we felt Joshua LeClaire was kind of like an animal backed into a corner. It's not unusual for defendants to shame the victim before sentencing. At the same time, we had to wonder whether the sentencing judge would consider it as true.
The answer comes on June 26, 2018, when Joshua LeClaire appears in court for his sentencing hearing.
Joshua asked for a lenient sentence, but he spoke about Jamie in the abstract as if he didn't know her. He said something to the effect of, "No one deserves to be killed this way." When he was the one who did it, it showed a remarkable sense of selfishness and a lack of true remorse.
I just remember being there and I remember seeing him. And I just kind of looked over like this and I remember it was like, it was real.
When it's somebody that you love, it's anger, it's sadness, it's a lot of emotions. And in my statement there, I did mention that he should rot in prison too.
The judge rejects the claim of self-defense and sentences 27-year-old Joshua LeClaire to 65 years in prison,
making him an old man by the time he gets out. It is, for all intents and purposes, a life sentence for him.
This individual that took our sister's life, our baby sister's life, he got, what was given to him. So that was a tough thing to do, to be sitting in front of that male who did that. I think I cried for, I felt like forever.
For Jamie's loved ones, the outcome is bittersweet.
They were overjoyed that justice had been done in spite of what had been done to Jamie. But there was a sense of dissatisfaction in that Joshua never really told the whole story. And we'll probably never know the real reason he was there and what happened between them.
I really miss seeing how happy she was when she started accomplishing some of her goals. A sense of happiness. Yes, I did it.
There's a lot of what ifs with Jamie's life being cut short and my mom having dementia. It wasn't just that one time that I had to break the story to her. It was every time that I went to go visit her. I would have to tell her each time that it was Jamie that was gone. And each time that brought tears to her eyes. and we have to relive it. People who go through this, you have to have strength within yourself to continue on, to live your life also, to live for them.